1:35 a.m., June 17th, 2019, Salt Lake City International Airport. Security cameras captured a college student walking through the terminal, pulling her suitcase behind her, looking tired but normal. She'd just returned from her grandmother's funeral in California. She texted her mother, "I landed safely, going to get a ride home." That message was delivered at 1:50 a.m. By 2 a.m., she was climbing into a rideshare vehicle. By 3 a.m., her phone went offline. Forever. She never made it home. She never finished her nursing degree. She never saw her family again, because the person waiting for her in the darkness had been planning this moment for weeks. This is the story of Mackenzie Lueck, and the IT professional who thought he could delete his digital footprints. Before we dive into this investigation, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, where digital trails lead to the darkest truths. Drop a comment below if you think you could solve this mystery based on phone records alone. Now let's begin. June 20th, 2019. A father's voice cracked when he called the Salt Lake City Police Department. Greg Luke hadn't heard from his daughter Mackenzie in nearly 7 days. Something felt terribly wrong. Mackenzie was supposed to be predictable. The college senior always answered her phone, always checked in with her parents, always stayed connected. But after landing at 1:35 in the morning on June 17th, after sending that simple text saying she'd landed safely, Mackenzie vanished into the Utah night. Her mother Diane had noticed something strange immediately. When she responded to Mackenzie's message the next morning, the reply didn't go through as an iMessage. It sent as regular SMS instead. Mackenzie's iPhone was offline, powered down, gone dark. At first, the Luke family brushed away their concerns. College students sometimes needed space. Maybe Mackenzie was overwhelmed after attending her grandmother's funeral. Maybe she just needed time alone to process her grief. But as hours became days, and days stretched toward a full week, that small seed of worry grew into choking dread. By June 20th, none of Mackenzie's friends had seen her. Her roommates couldn't confirm she'd come home. Her cat, which she'd asked someone to feed while she was away, sat waiting in an empty apartment. Most damning of all, Mackenzie had an online midterm exam due by midnight that very night. She hadn't logged into the university portal even once. This wasn't like Mackenzie at all. The dedicated student who dreamed of becoming a nurse wouldn't simply skip her responsibilities. Something had gone catastrophically wrong. When officers arrived at Mackenzie's Salt Lake City apartment, her car sat in the driveway exactly where she'd left it before flying to California. Inside the house, they found everything in order. Everything except Mackenzie herself. Her suitcase, the one she'd packed for the funeral trip, was nowhere to be found. The implication hit investigators like ice water. Mackenzie Lueck had never made it home from the airport. Officers reviewed surveillance footage from Salt Lake City International Airport. There she was on camera, clearly visible, deplaning at 1:35 a.m. on June 17th. The footage showed her walking through the terminal, pulling her suitcase behind her, looking tired but normal. At 2 a.m. precisely, security cameras captured Mackenzie climbing into a rideshare vehicle. But where did she go after that? Greg Luke wasn't waiting passively for police updates. The healthcare administrator began his own investigation into his daughter's life, searching for any clue that might lead to her whereabouts. Mackenzie shared her bank accounts with her parents, and Greg discovered something unusual almost immediately. Someone had been depositing money into Mackenzie's account regularly. She hadn't been asking her parents for tuition money or rent assistance lately. She'd even purchased new furniture for her apartment. Where was this income coming from? The investigation deepened when Greg contacted AT&T to examine Mackenzie's phone records. Between 1:50 and 3 a.m. on June 17th, after her plane had landed, Mackenzie had sent 8 text messages to one specific number. The content of these messages wasn't available to investigators. This could be crucial evidence, or just Mackenzie arranging her ride home. The truth remained frustratingly unclear. Police sent a text message to Mackenzie's phone. "You are an adult and have the right to not communicate with whomever you want. I simply need to verify your safety. We will not communicate your location or anything else unless you give us permission." The message went unanswered. Mackenzie's phone remained dark and silent. As investigators widened their search, they began uncovering aspects of Mackenzie's life that surprised her family. Friends and acquaintances painted a picture more complex than her parents had known. In high school, she excelled on the swim and water polo teams. She helped establish a breast cancer awareness club. She carried her activism to the University of Utah, where she became a positive presence in her sorority, which focused on domestic violence awareness and prevention. But Mackenzie had been struggling. According to one friend, she'd experienced trauma in the past and was having difficulty processing it. She saw a therapist. She took medication. She was trying to heal while simultaneously navigating the pressures of finishing her degree. A male friend told investigators something more complex. Mackenzie, he said, had been using dating apps to connect with people. Some of these connections involved meeting strangers. The friend mentioned she'd connected with someone on a dating app about 3 weeks earlier, but he didn't know any details about this mystery man. Investigators finally tracked down the rideshare driver who'd picked up Mackenzie from the airport. His account added crucial details to the timeline. He'd collected her at 2 a.m. on June 17th and driven her to Hatch Park, a public recreation area in North Salt Lake. There was absolutely no logical reason for Mackenzie to go there at nearly 3 in the morning. The driver remembered something else. When he arrived at Hatch Park, someone was already waiting. They seemed to know each other really well because I think all I heard was, "How are you doing? How was your trip?" The driver couldn't see the waiting person clearly, but he recalled that Mackenzie seemed comfortable, not distressed or afraid. She appeared to know whoever was picking her up. The driver even remembered a snippet of their conversation during the ride. They'd made small talk about the strangeness of late-night rides. Mackenzie had laughed and said, "Not as strange as where you're dropping me off, in the middle of a park so late at night." She recognized the oddness of the situation, but proceeded anyway. This decision, meeting someone in an isolated park at 3 a.m., would cost Mackenzie everything. Hatch Park had security cameras, but investigators discovered a crushing problem. The cameras were non-functional. Dummy cameras installed to deter crime, but incapable of recording anything. The crucial footage of whoever picked up Mackenzie that night simply didn't exist. Police established a geofence around Hatch Park for the early morning hours of June 17th. A geofence is a virtual perimeter. When phones enter that area, they ping cell towers. Investigators can then identify which devices were present at a specific time and location. 6 devices had pinged in that area during the relevant time frame. One device registered multiple times, belonging neither to Mackenzie nor her rideshare driver. The phone belonged to Ayula Ajayi, a 31-year-old IT professional living in Salt Lake City. Ajayi's phone had pinged in the same location as Mackenzie's right before 3 a.m. Then, between 2:58 and 3 a.m., Mackenzie's phone went offline forever. The coincidence was impossible to ignore. Phone records revealed something even more damning. Mackenzie and Ajayi had been communicating through a messaging app. They'd exchanged messages on June 16th, only 9 hours before she vanished. On June 25th, police made contact with Ajayi. Despite his lawyer's advice to remain silent, Ajayi agreed to an interview. He claimed he only wanted to clear up what he insisted was a mistake. "It just doesn't make sense. I just want to get to the root of it too. Because when you said my IP is showing, that means something is wrong." Ayula Ajayi presented himself as cooperative and confused. He worked in information technology, so he understood how phone location data worked. He knew investigators had placed him at Hatch Park when Mackenzie disappeared. He wanted to explain the coincidence. Ajayi claimed he had security cameras at his house that would prove his alibi. He said someone who was pregnant had been with him all night. When investigators asked about the dating apps, Ajayi admitted using them, but he claimed he never actually met anyone from the sites. He said he had anxiety, and he just needed people to talk to when he felt alone. He insisted he'd never met Mackenzie in person. He acknowledged she might have texted him. According to Ajayi, Mackenzie sent him a question mark, asking if he was interested in meeting. He sent her a photo. She never responded. That was the extent of their interaction, he claimed. When pressed about the phone location data placing him at Hatch Park, Ajayi suggested someone else might have been using his Wi-Fi. He kept his network open without password protection, he explained. Maybe someone else's phone had bounced off his IP address. The excuses piled up, each one more implausible than the last. Police obtained search warrants for Ajayi's phone and residence. On June 26th, they executed the warrant at his house in the Fair Park neighborhood. Inside the house, officers found a guest staying in Ajayi's spare bedroom. The man had just arrived that morning from the airport and had no idea why police were suddenly searching his host's property. Beyond the guest, the house appeared empty. There was no sign of Mackenzie Luke. But investigators discovered other troubling evidence. They found multiple items in Ajayi's car. They collected material from the vehicle's floor. They seized numerous electronic devices, including routers, phones, and computers for forensic examination. Most telling of all, they discovered freshly disturbed earth in Ajayi's backyard. Neighbors reported that on June 17th, Ajayi had been burning something in that exact spot. The smell was outrageous. I thought maybe it was coming from my property, but there was this smell in the air that was just almost rancid, really disgusting smelling. The fire had produced a horrible, unforgettable smell. One neighbor said the odor was so strong and foul that she'd threatened to call the fire department if Ajayi didn't extinguish it immediately. A canine unit trained to detect human remains indicated positive hits in the backyard. Police brought Ajayi in for another interview. This time they stopped being empathetic. They pushed hard on the impossible coincidences. Ajayi's phone and Mackenzie's phone had been in the exact same location at the exact same time. Well, how do I explain something I don't know? Are you saying you don't know or you don't remember? Because those are two different things, Ajayi repeated. How do I explain something I don't know? The investigator pressed harder. Are you saying you don't know or you don't remember? Because those are two different things. Ajayi had no convincing answer. He claimed the location data must be wrong. He insisted he'd been home all night. He maintained he'd never met Mackenzie in person, but the physical evidence was mounting against him. Investigators had found remains in his backyard. They discovered biological evidence. They'd recovered a burned cell phone from the fire pit. Ajayi had an explanation for everything. He said he'd been burning trash and maybe some of his own clothes. He claimed the material in his car came from yard work. None of it made sense. None of it held together under scrutiny. Testing on the remains from Ajayi's backyard came back on June 28th. The samples matched Mackenzie Lewick. Investigators also discovered that Ajayi had purchased supplies at 9 a.m. on June 17th. The same morning, Mackenzie disappeared. Security footage revealed Ajayi's vehicle heading toward Hatch Park at 2:43 a.m. on June 17th. At 3:21 a.m., the white rideshare vehicle drove away from the park. Just 10 seconds later, Ajayi's car also departed. But now Mackenzie was inside it, heading to her death. Ajayi's phone records placed him at Logan Canyon on June 25th, a remote area popular with hikers located about 80 minutes from Salt Lake City. It was the perfect location to conceal evidence. Early on June 28th, a team deployed to arrest Ayoola Ajayi at a friend's apartment where he was staying. One officer called him first, trying to convince him to surrender peacefully. "If you want to arrest me, I will come down and you can arrest me." "Come on down then." "Are you trying to arrest me?" "Will you come down, please?" "Only if you tell me that you want to arrest me. You just come down. If you're not trying to arrest me, then I don't want to talk to you." The officer finally called Ajayi's bluff. "I'm trying to arrest you. Come down and talk to me. Do you have your arrest warrant with you?" "Yep." Ajayi came downstairs. The team arrested him without incident. He was charged with aggravated murder, aggravated kidnapping, and desecration of remains in the homicide of Mackenzie Lewick. "We are filing charges of aggravated murder, aggravated kidnapping, and desecration of remains." The man charged is Ayoola Ajayi. Born in 1988, Ajayi was raised in Nigeria but had lived in Utah since at least 2009. He enrolled at Utah State University on a student visa. He returned to the university 3 separate times but never earned a degree. He briefly joined the Utah National Guard but received an early separation. Despite limited verifiable background, Ajayi's online profile claimed extensive IT experience with major companies. The profile has since been removed, and it's unclear whether these employment claims were truthful. Multiple people who encountered Ajayi reported feeling immediately uncomfortable around him. A contractor revealed that Ajayi had hired him to build a sealed room in his basement with unusual features. The contractor refused the job, later saying his instinct told him something was terribly wrong. A woman hired to clean Ajayi's house quit after one day. She discovered the home had cameras throughout. Ajayi had specifically asked her to bring her young daughter along while cleaning. She later said she knew immediately something was wrong. Ajayi was married to a woman named Tanisha who lived in Dallas, Texas. They'd met through a family friend. They'd never lived together, and Tanisha hadn't spoken to him in years. According to Tanisha, Ajayi became threatening when she refused to move to Utah. She claimed he once became violent, forcing her to escape through a window. Ajayi refused to sign divorce papers, leaving them legally married despite years of separation. This wasn't his only history of concerning behavior. In 2014, and again in March 2018, Ajayi was investigated for serious offenses. The 2018 case involved a woman who came forward after meeting through a dating app. Though investigated, he was never convicted. During the search of Ajayi's electronic devices, investigators discovered concerning material, but this evidence would later become part of a plea agreement. On July 2nd, investigators began searching Logan Canyon based on Ajayi's phone records. The next day, just after noon, they made the heartbreaking discovery everyone feared. Mackenzie's body was found in a remote location. She'd been there since June 17th. The complete picture of Mackenzie's final hours finally emerged. Ajayi had connected with her on a dating platform. They'd arranged to meet after Mackenzie returned from California. She directed her rideshare driver to Hatch Park, where Ajayi picked her up and drove her to his house. Once there, something went terribly wrong. On June 17th, he attempted to destroy evidence in his backyard, but was interrupted by his neighbor. Instead, he concealed Mackenzie elsewhere and disposed of her belongings in the Jordan River. Police later recovered her student ID and burned items from the riverbank. Ajayi had turned off all his home security cameras before leaving to meet Mackenzie. He wasn't shy about recording normally, but he disabled the cameras that night. This suggested premeditation. This suggested planning. When police first visited on June 24th, Ajayi moved evidence the next day, hoping it would never be found. Even this IT specialist underestimated the digital traces he would leave. He tried giving away the mattress through a resale website. He bought a replacement phone after police confiscated his devices, but his digital footprint had already sealed his fate. On October 7, 2020, Ayoola Ajayi pleaded guilty to first-degree aggravated murder and desecration of remains. In exchange, prosecutors removed the death penalty from consideration. He was sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole. He also pleaded guilty to kidnapping and assaulting the woman from 2018, who'd come forward after seeing his name in news reports about Mackenzie's death. For this, he received 1 to 15 additional years. Greg Luke's victim impact statement captured the devastating loss. "My daughter Mackenzie Luke was a sweet, amazing young lady with the world ahead of her. She was a kind-hearted person that cared about others. Now I will not have the opportunity to see her blossom in life. My life has been changed due to the selfish, premeditated decision you made on June 17, 2019. Instead of planning my daughter's graduation party, I planned her memorial. It breaks my heart knowing she died alone in such a scary place. Tragically, she won't be among the graduates next spring. This feels like a nightmare I can't wake up from. But unfortunately, it's reality." The prosecutor called it murder for murder's sake. Ayoola Ajayi simply wanted to know what it felt like to take a life. He chose Mackenzie Lueck as his victim, and he planned her death with cold calculation. Today, Ajayi remains in prison. Mackenzie's family continues grieving the bright young woman they lost. She was just 2 semesters from earning her nursing degree. She dreamed of medical school. She wanted to help people heal. Instead, she met a monster in a park at 3 in the morning, and that monster destroyed everything she could have become. This case reveals uncomfortable truths about the digital age we live in. We carry devices that track our every movement. We meet strangers through apps and websites. We trust technology to keep us safe, but technology is neutral. It records truth without judgment. The same Geofence data that helped catch Ajayi also revealed Mackenzie's final movements. The same phones that connected them also became evidence of murder. The same cameras Ajayi disabled to hide his crime also proved his guilt through their absence. Digital footprints never truly disappear. Cell towers don't forget which phones pinged at 3 a.m. IP addresses leave traces. Deleted messages hide in cloud storage. Even when a killer tries to erase every piece of evidence, technology remembers. If this case made you reconsider meeting strangers in isolated locations, hit that like button and subscribe to Visões Proibidas. Because the lessons here aren't about blame, they're about awareness. About understanding that the people we meet online might not be who they claim, that IT professionals can be monsters, that someone planning murder will disable their security cameras. Drop a comment below with your thoughts. How do we balance the freedom to meet new people with the reality that some people have dark intentions? How do we use technology to stay safe rather than make ourselves vulnerable? Until next time, remember this: your phone is always tracking you. Your movements create digital breadcrumbs. This technology can't prevent tragedy, but it can deliver justice. And sometimes in cases like this, that's all we have left. The truth captured in data, the evidence preserved in ones and zeros, the justice delivered because a killer thought he was smarter than the technology he worked with every day. He wasn't. And now he'll spend the rest of his life in prison, while Mackenzie's family spends the rest of their lives wondering what she could have become